Okay, so this is Mr. Wilson, and I'm going to give you some pointers on how to complete the first lab for AP Physics 1, the lab number 1, graphing. Now remember, the purpose of this lab is to review graphing methods and techniques, and we're going to talk about using graphs to produce meaningful results. So in order to do this lab, all you really need are a bunch of round objects. For example, like a toilet paper tube is something that you could use. Here's a lid to a spray can, like a paint can, Tupperware bowl. So any of these things could be used. Here's an alternative method for you if you want to use something that's a little bit easier. This is just an index card that I've rolled up, and I put 2 paper clips on the ends so I can actually adjust the size of the tube to different diameters. So, you know, this is one way that you could have produce lots of different measurements very easily. Just adjust the size of the tube using paper clips, and then you'll have different diameter and circumference tubes that you can use for your measurements. So that's another method. So basically all you really have to do in order to complete this lab is get 8 different measurements for circumference and diameter for different objects. So I'm going to use this piece of ribbon as an example. You can use string, ribbon. Ideally, the best thing to use is a tape measure with metric measurements on it. And I have just a simple ruler here with centimeters on one side, as you can see. Okay, so with the tube at this size, I'm going to go ahead and take a measurement for circumference. So all I'm going to do is lay my piece of ribbon on the edge of the tube and stretch it around, and I'm going to see where the edge of the ribbon is. I'm going to hold it with my finger right there. Again, this is a rough measurement. This is not a very precise lab. Of course, you can increase the precision by using more precise measuring tools, but for me, this is just a decent estimate for a measurement here. Okay, so there's my measurement, as you can see. Okay, I'm going to take my ribbon and then lay it down next to the ruler, and I'm going to get a measurement. So my measurement for this circumference is about 15.7 centimeters. Now 15.7 centimeters is going to be equivalent to 157 millimeters, and we want our measurements for this lab to be in millimeters. Okay, so 157 millimeters for my first circumference. Okay, so remember, we're making a data table here of circumference versus diameter in millimeters. So I have 157 as my first measurement. Now to get the diameter, the best thing to do is just find where the largest measurement across this tube is, obviously, because you can't get any larger than the diameter if you're measuring this. So you can hold one side of the ruler on the edge and then sort of pivot it and just see where you cross your greatest measurement. So, and try and make it as round as possible. You know, try to make your tube as round as possible if you're using this method. Okay, so I'm seeing about around 5 centimeters. So that's going to be roughly 50 millimeters. Okay, so there you have it. That's how you take your measurements for circumference and diameter. So you'll take around 8 measurements, up to 8 measurements. Try and get 8 if you can. Please don't use any less than 5. Okay, you're going to produce a graph of circumference versus diameter. Make sure to put the circumference on the y-axis of your graph and the diameter on the x-axis of your graph, because we want the slope to come out to a particular measurement. Okay. As many of you should probably already know, the ratio of circumference to diameter is described by the equation circumference equals pi times diameter, so the ratio should be pi. So our expected value for this particular experiment is 3.14. This is the number that we should be getting from the slope of our graph. Okay, when you plot this graph, you should get a very straight line. An alternative way to do this is using a graphing package like Excel. If you need help producing graphs on Excel, you could always contact me by email. I'll be happy to help you do that. But until then, I hope this little demonstration has given you some ideas of how to complete this first lab. Thanks.